Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of the Communication Essentials podcast. It has been a while, but as Mike and I said last time, we do these when we want. And there is a hot topic that everybody's been talking about. It's cybersecurity, and we're going to get into that in a second. But Mike, good to see you. What's going on?
Good to see you. Same old, working, just counting the days to the next Communication Essentials podcast. And I'm glad that it's finally here. We got a fantastic guest, and I'm excited to get started. I hope they're excited as well.
I think so. Kathy, are you excited? Kathy, welcome.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
So excited to see you.
Give a little brief on who I am and why I'm here.
Yeah.
So I am the marketing director for Antigen Security. We are a startup based in Michigan, and we consider ourselves to be a cyber risk management firm. So not only do we provide kind of the technology to keep businesses safe, but we also provide financial protection in the form of cyber insurance. So just kind of holistically managing a company's total risk. I've been in the cybersecurity industry since 2019. With Antigen, only 7 months. Prior to that, I was with a firm called Binary Defense. They are based here in Ohio, kind of next door to Hudson and Stowe. And same deal, they were a technology company focused on the defensive side of security. So I've had about 3 years here in the trenches, almost 4 coming up, which I think is about 20 years in cybersecurity industry. So I feel like I've learned a lot on the marketing side.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, you have seen a lot over the past couple of years too. So
it has been a very there's one thing about working in cybersecurity is there's never a dull moment. There's always something going on. There's always which is great as a marketer because there's plenty of content opportunities and things to write about, as opposed to maybe some other industries where you're writing about plastics or something. Not to say that that's bad, but I do have yeah, I do see some interesting things, not always great, but it is kind of an evolving, timeline of things with emerging threats and new techniques that we're seeing every day and new headlines and, all kinds of stuff. So,
yeah, I wonder if you mentioned being in it 20 years ago, was it so easy back then? Because if I can remember, because I've been working for a long time, the main cybersecurity is don't open any attachments in an email that isn't complete.
Right. And that's still good. Like, still don't do that.
But that was the extent. That's all you have to know.
Yeah, that's all we needed to worry about back in the day. And antivirus would take care of everything. And, we could sleep at night. So it's definitely emerged a lot beyond that.
Yeah, I remember the good old days when you could support, princes and kings and far off lands that needed you to shelter their money for them. Now
you would get their
I guess you can't do that. So
they've all been taken care of.
Yeah, they've all been taken care of.
Right.
Well,
right.
Mike, that is not your random thought to start us off with. Why didn't we think of that? All the scams from the past 20 years. But what's the random thought today to kick us off?
I think I got one. Talking about cybersecurity, and that it's something you have to talk about, but it's conversations you want to avoid because there's 2 main parts to it. Something bad happened and you don't want to admit or say something bad happened, or something bad may happen and we need to talk about that. And where the thinking comes in is whether it's real life or at a company you work for. Like, if I make a mistake with my wife, I didn't fill the tank up and it's 10 degrees outside, sorry. Or I didn't respond to an email in time and now you're the team mom for the football team and the team feed is in 2 days. It's like, I don't want to have that conversation, but I better have that conversation because she's going to find out sooner rather than later. And it will be worse if she finds out in that regard. And the second part of the thought is, we don't want to talk about something bad that may happen, whether it's something silly like, well, we don't want to jinx ourselves. If we say cybersecurity or a breach, it will happen. It's why I'm hesitant to take the car into the shop. If I take it in, they're going to find something. They're going to tell me all the things I need to do to protect it. So I avoid it in those ways. Granted, that's a lot to say. It's a conversation we want to avoid, but we have to have it. And that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation here and help us in having that conversation, even if it's difficult.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
No,
yeah,
go
I
ahead,
mean,
Kathy. I was going to say, I was going to just tee you up anyway. So dig right in. What do we need to know?
I'm just
Mike set
jumping
us
in.
up perfectly.
Yeah, that did set us up perfectly because I mean, I think the what we call FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it does play a part in the conversation, and we try not to make the prospect of a cyber attack seem so scary. And that's definitely not the purpose of why I'm here with you today to talk about some of the things that I'm going to talk about. But the reality is you need to prepare for the fact that no matter what size company you are, big, small, what industry you're in, be it healthcare, be it retail, a bank, a canoe rental place, just I don't know where that one came from, but just all kinds of businesses. It doesn't matter because the threat actors don't care. They are looking for easy payday. So actually some of the smaller businesses that are like, like we don't have anything they want. Like, we're just a canoe rental place. Like, who would want our stuff? Well, they don't care because they can lock your computers out and, ransom you. And because you don't have a plan or any of the technologies, like that's easy money for them, right? Like, oh, we need our stuff back. Like, okay, we're going to pay the ransom. So it does happen to smaller businesses. A stat I just read was Q3 of this year alone. There were 15 million data breaches around the world. That's a lot.
Yes,
it's up from earlier in the year. And then also we're looking at in the US, the average cost of a data breach right now is right about 9.4 million. If you're in healthcare, it's about 10. So, these things aren't cheap. And being kind of sticking your head in the sand and being unprepared is not a strategy, right? You have to assume it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of security and comfort that comes with being prepared for this. And we had our Cybersecurity Matters webinar a few weeks ago with Craig talking about that very thing, where trying to avoid it, keeping your head in the sand. The facts, the stats are there. It's not a matter of if, but when. And the when, I think, is the part that people are a little slow to grasp. And because I think sometimes people think, well, when? Well, that means it's going to happen. No, it means when it happens, will you be prepared? So are you seeing anything in terms of, well, I know you talked a little bit about how quickly things have evolved. We talked in the beginning about some of the ways like 20 years ago and things to avoid, but are you seeing anything in terms of the sophistication and ways that people are being attacked, or is it still some of the same old things that have always been there?
So the top two causes right now of data breaches are phishing, which is your good old Nigerian prince looking for you to help him out. But we don't fall for those anymore, but we do fall for, hey, you've won a $500 Visa gift card. Just click this link to, claim your prize. Well, we know, what happens after that. So that's the top one. And I have some examples too. I can probably just talk about them now, but one that I saw recently that I would fall for was a threat actor group targeted an entire business. So physical office location. They sent everyone in the company an email, and the subject line of the email was like, "You're invited to our fall festival." Okay, I'm interested. Like, I like fall festivals. I like apple cider and donuts and pumpkins and everything. Okay, so I'm opening that email. So inside it looks like legitimate flyer for this fall festival. I'm super interested. Like, tell me more. When is this thing so I can go get my pumpkin spice, whatever. And there's a PDF attached. So you click the PDF, and of course that's infected with malware. So like,
oh no,
you would click that, right? I mean, I would click it, and I know better.
What is happening when they're using pumpkin spice against us?
I mean, yeah,
Mike.
things are bad when pumpkin spice is being used.
You're right. They get you on that. You're not thinking of. You're not in that paranoid mind, and it seems so innocuous. I can tell when I get a text from Amazon misspelled that my account is okay. I can figure that one out. But something like that,
Yeah, I mean, and it's, just send it to everyone in the company. So everyone's like, oh, did you see the fall festival flyer? And oh, you
Yeah.
should, I didn't click on it, but, and then, of course, several people fell for it. So it's just, it's crazy to me, the things that they will do to get in. And they're getting smarter and smarter about it. And they understand, like, these threat actor groups are not slouches, okay? They understand the human psyche, human behavior, and they're preying upon that. So, like, yes, they appealed to me, like, with my pumpkin spice fascination. Like, I'm definitely on board for that. And that's all they need. They just need one of me to click the link, and they can start moving around in my company's network.
wow.
Yeah, so we should probably pay attention to, like, oh, the new House of Dragon previews here. Click for a sneak peek. They would be totally targeting me on that, right? That's
Yes,
I
just
should be
double check
watching
those
those.
links.
Yes.
Before you
And
click.
And I know
So,
that the season just ended. I know there's no new season, but yeah, I would still could potentially
yeah, because you're like,
fall
what?
for
Is there
that.
like a bonus episode that came out? Like,
Right.
yeah,
The
yeah.
psychological side of that, I think that's, like Mike said in the beginning, with the the don't click this link or whatever, there's like there's like the hardware aspect of it, but now like the psychological side of it, where we're being marketed to and targeted to by threat actors. They're trying to get us to open an email, just like communications would try to get you to get engagement in their content. It's completely flipped the script. It's really hard to get your head around that aspect of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
I would just think, like, and you're saying threat actors, I think maybe people might take the threat less serious because of the stereotypical, oh, it's just a hacker clicking away on a keyboard in his mom's basement. But the level of sophistication, like you said, they know how to get into the psyche. There's
right.
probably people, is it like a staff of people with degrees in different things besides, it's almost like a legit not a legit business, but
Well,
it's
yeah, I
run
mean,
like
they
a
do.
business.
They run their business like a legit operation. I mean, some of these ransomware groups have customer service departments where if you're being hacked, you call up and they are very happy to take you through how to get Bitcoin and where to send it, and they're super helpful because obviously they want their money. So it is, they are legit businesses. I'm sure and like many legit businesses, they have a product roadmap probably, and they're looking for ways to innovate and find new ways that are going to work. And we're seeing some of them now with some of these attacks.
I just think if these our friends and neighbors, are they in the suburbs and they go into work each day? And, oh yeah, I do customer service. I answer the phone for different companies, and one of them, it's just mind-boggling and something to take seriously.
Everybody's got to make a living, is how they look at it. And what we learned in the webinar with Craig was just really the pretty natural way they operate as a business, in terms of negotiating and helplines and things like that. Is any commentary? And I guess, Kathy, from your perspective, this, please take advantage of the opportunity. I mean, from your company's perspective, where do they kind of fall in working with a firm like Craig's or a communication agency like us? Like, where kind of in that path do you guys fall in, and how do you help?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a team effort. So my company can come in, we kind of work on both the defensive and offensive sides. So we can do like the technology in place beforehand so that these things don't happen. So you're like less likely to get breached. But any company that tells you, like, if you're talking to a cybersecurity salesperson and they tell you that they can prevent 100% of breaches, hang up on them and run away, because they are lying to you. No technology can prevent that fall festival flyer from getting through and people clicking on that. They just can't. I mean, it passed the spam filters and everything. So, we're not at 100%, safety from things like that. But, firms like yours can really help on the communication side, because one of the things that you need to do in being prepared is have what's called an incident response plan. And so, if something happens, map out exactly what your team is going to do. And that absolutely includes whoever is responsible in your organization for communications. So your PR person, your marketing person, whoever that is. Or if you have a third party firm like IKEA who could do that stuff for you, like you need to have this planned out in advance. Like, so, you know, to include your legal team, obviously your IT team, your senior leadership, your marketing person, and you really have to sit down and talk through like, okay, this is going to happen at some point. We can't bury our head in the sand about this. So if, for instance, we were hit with ransomware, would we pay the ransom? Yes or no? Would we disclose this publicly on our website? Yes or no? Would we issue a press release? Would we send a customer email? Like those things should all be documented and detailed well in advance of something like this happen, because as soon as something like this does happen and you don't have that, like you're all running around like chickens with your heads cut off, right? Like everybody's like, holy crap, like we've been breached, like what are we going to do? And everyone kind of runs off in their own separate direction trying to fix the problem. And if you have that one single source of truth of like, okay, we know what to do, you know, it's go time, you do this, it's all kind of, it runs a lot smoother and you can get things back up and running like in a more you know, smooth fashion, faster, more efficient.
Yeah, and I think I was looking at your pre-show notes here, and I think we got into the pumpkin spice example. I think I skipped over your example. You say people find really interesting as it pertains to the training and prep is the one with Uber. Is that right?
Yeah, so Uber is really interesting. So Uber has been breached twice. In 2016, they were breached, and the security officer decided he wasn't going to tell anybody. So he went ahead and paid the ransom to the attackers. And then he basically, I mean, consider it like hush money. He made them sign an NDA, which I don't know in hacker world if that means anything, but made them sign an NDA. Like, let's pretend this never happened, move on with our lives. Like, you got your money, I got my data back, boom, done. Well, of course, Uber found out and this guy got fired, rightly so. And then also he's the first security executive to face criminal charges for obstructing basically, or, you know, trying to hide the fact that this happened. So not good. Don't do that. Wow. Uber was just breached again in September. And this time I think they've learned from their mistakes in 2016. So they, you know, they put the disclosure out and, you know, attribute, you know, said who the ransomware gang was that breached them. But if I can just tell a quick kind of sidetrack story, the way that Uber was breached is kind of crazy. So, you know, you're logging into a website or whatever, and you put in your password, and then it's like, okay, give me the 6-digit code that I just sent to your phone. And you're like, oh, okay, let me get my phone out. Like, it's annoying, right? And then you also get, sometimes you're working, like you click through an app and it's your phone dings and it's like, hey, somebody just tried to log into your Facebook account. Was it you? And you're like, yes, it was me. Okay, so the Uber threat actor got into somebody's account and then started doing what's called MFA bombing. So this is basically, he just started hitting that login and it was spamming the person's phone who it was. So it was just like, hey, somebody just logged in. Was this you? No. A few seconds later, hey, somebody just logged in. This was you. Was this you? No. And this happens over and over and over again. And it's probably like 2 a.m. or something where you're just like, oh my gosh, make it stop. Like, why is my phone doing this? This app must be glitching out. Fine. Yes, it was me. Put the phone down, go back to sleep. And of course, that's what kicked this whole thing off. So MFA bombing is a new technique where they just, and again, it's the psychology, right? You're just like, what can I do to make this thing stop so that I can move on with my life? And it's just that quick slip of, okay, I'm tired, I want to go to bed. Like, yeah. So that's what kicked off the whole Uber breach this time.
Wow.
Oh man, that's
it's bananas. So MFA bombing is kind of a new thing that we're seeing, but I mean, it works.
What's MFA stand for?
Multi-factor authentication. So it's either called
okay,
that
gotcha.
or two-factor authentication is another one, 2FA.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm throwing the jargon around. You guys know what
out of context. Yeah, I didn't know that was, they were specifically targeting it as that, but okay, that makes sense. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It just shows the steps ahead that the threat actors can be using something that's supposed to be extra security.
Mhm.
Oh, I'll
Right.
engage with this. It's like, man, the safety protocols sometimes, that psychological aspect will
Mhm.
work against you.
Yeah.
Right.
Fascinating.
Another example is Cisco. So Cisco, pretty large company, just I think they were breached back in May, and they did all the right things communication wise. As soon as they found out, they put out a statement. And what was really nice, like if you look up the Cisco breach, like I would say this is a really good communication to like use as an example, because they say what happened, when it happened, why they think it happened, what it's impacting, and what steps they're taking to remedy it. And that's all you really need to do. But just those things, be as transparent as possible. Like, here's what's going on. Here's, the number of customers, and then keep your customers updated as things move along. That timeline moves pretty quickly, but just like, hey, we're back up and running, or we got our data back, or whatever it is. And then the nice thing about that with the cybersecurity community is we all kind of share that information amongst ourselves. So, somebody at another company can say, okay, Cisco was hit this way, or, Uber was hit with this MFA bombing tactic. Like, we need to prepare for that as well. So just having those communications out there is really helpful for everyone else who could be going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been great. And, you had mentioned you had 3 big points you wanted to get to, which to recap, is really assume that's going to happen to you, to make sure that we have the training in place. So, whether it's the team or yourself for knowing what's being up to date and up to speed on ways that these are being used. And then 3, the communication and not trying to hide anything. Almost to Mike's point, yeah, the Uber representative there is probably the husband who wasn't telling his significant other that they're now on team dinner duty.
Dinners.
So, but yeah, those are 3 big ones. And Kathy, I know you had attended a pretty big conference last week. Did you want to talk about that? Any takeaways from that before we wrap up?
Sure. I mean, so it was a cybersecurity marketing conference. So it was all the cybersecurity marketers. There's about 200 of us in Washington, D.C. It was awesome. I mean, I learned a lot, and we didn't focus as much on security as we did on marketing. But I think what's relevant here is that, if you are a communications person and you're communicating out, like, just remember that you're talking to humans, and to, not make this scary, be as transparent as possible, and, communicate as much as you can, as soon as you can, if you do find yourself in this situation.
Mhm.
That's huge. I think we're going to see a big shift in that. We have already, but definitely something Craig was talking about yourself, just around, this is now something that needs marketed, needs planned for, it needs to be right up there with a lot of the other focuses you put on internal communications and customer communications. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. What an exciting place to be for you. I'm we'll probably have to revisit this in 6-7 months and see what new thing is out there and what new thing they're trying to use to get through to us. If it maybe some March Madness trickery out there. If they're going to use pumpkin spice, use something else. America
There's nothing
loves.
sacred anymore.
Nothing sacred. It really isn't.
But it does show.
Go ahead, Mike.
Think like if you'd been hacked before, maybe years ago, it might have been perceived as being weak or unprepared. But with what you've explained to us today, Kathy, even with security measures in place, things can easily get through. So I think that's where the communication really comes into play. It'll happen. Let's just be upfront about what's going on. Here's the steps we're taking. A simpler version is on Facebook. When you see, I got hacked, don't answer any friend requests from me. It's so common, and you never think that person, oh, what'd they do wrong? They did nothing wrong. They just wrong place, wrong time, and it was their turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that we're doing this, and I know it's on the heels of the webinar, which we'll have the link in the in our YouTube post here. But that's really the point. That's really the point of a key of communications. We haven't mentioned even the ways we help, and that's not the point of this. The point is trying to have resources available to our clients and build this network for them, that there are different areas and stages to this, and different companies that are expert in their areas that can help. And you're not alone. It is out there. It is going to happen, and not to be scared by it, but instead to be prepared. So I'm glad we're able to do that, Kathy. I always love getting to talk to you. As we find out here in a second, you and I do share a love for pop culture, and we usually head down that path and don't get to come back and talk business as much. So I can't have you on here, especially with me and Mike, and not ask, what you watching?
Okay.
What should we be turning our attention to?
Okay, I am hooked right now on Great British Baking Show.
Oh,
really?
Man.
Yes.
Really?
I
Okay,
didn't
why?
think of you like, I'm
what's
not
the
a
hook?
cook, I'm not a foodie. I'm not
Yeah.
in, like I'm not usually, I don't watch like the Top Chef and the Gordon Ramsay and all that. But this one, a friend told me about it, and we started watching it, and it's just, I don't know, it makes me really hungry, and that's probably not a good thing. Like I'm always like, oh, it looks really good, I want to eat that. But it's just so like, it's just a good comfort show. Like they're making comfort food and cookies and cakes, and they're pretty, and it's just a nice thing to throw on when I'm doing other things, and not really have to think too much. So.
All right, I'm going to have to check that out. The new one on Netflix, it looks interesting. Speaking of baking, is it a cake? I don't know if you saw that, where they bake something and they challenge the contestants if it's a cake or not.
Oh, is it like
people are
will
getting
it
so
cake
good
or something? Or is
Yeah.
it cake or no
Is it a
cake? I don't know.
cake? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mike, send us off. What you watching?
I just finished a show, Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was good, and I love it because each season's just 6 episodes, so you can fly through it, and you end up talking with that Irish accent after it's over. You can't help yourself. But that's a good one. Just wrapped it up, and definitely a good one. Definitely check it out.
Well, I love that. Anything these two, trust me, are telling you to watch, you should watch. I will tell you, I finished The Good Place, which is awesome. And if you're looking for a movie as the year winds down, well, I could go on and on about Elvis, but I won't, because that's freaking awesome. But a movie that's going to sneak in and I think deserves some attention is Vengeance, with I'm drawing a blank on his name, Ryan from The Office. BJ Novak did it, and it is awesome. It is so good. You will start it, you will not finish it. Check it out, especially if you love the podcast culture and subcultures that come out in the murder podcasts and all that. Definitely check that one out. So yeah, it's fantastic. But all right, good. Well, as I said, we could go on and on forever. I will end us, or else we could. But Kathy, thank you again. We'll make sure your info's in the channel here. Mike, until next time, buddy.
Until next time. Thank you so much, Kathy. Good stuff.
All right, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.